There is a particular kind of exhaustion that appears in a person's life journey, and it doesn't come from hard work. It doesn't come from effort. It doesn't even come from pain. This kind of exhaustion comes from something much deeper. It comes from holding on longer than you ever thought you could, from waking up every morning and choosing faith, even when nothing around you seems to confirm that faith, from continuing to believe in something meaningful while the visible world offers you no evidence that anything is changing. And if that kind of tiredness feels familiar to you right now, don't rush past it. Don't dismiss it, because this particular feeling tends to appear right before something shifts, right before something begins to move. You didn't imagine the weight you've been carrying. You didn't exaggerate the heaviness sitting quietly on your chest when you wake up each morning. And you certainly didn't miscalculate how long this season of waiting has lasted. It has been long, longer than you expected, longer than anyone around you probably realizes. And let me tell you something important. You are not weak for wondering, quietly, late at night, whether any of this has meant something. You are not weak for asking yourself if all this endurance, all this patience, all this silent perseverance has mattered at all. It has, more than you realize, and what is moving toward you now is closer than it appears. For a long time, you've been living in a strange place, a space that exists between promise and proof, a place where you keep doing the right thing, even when no one applauds you for it, a place where integrity matters more to you than shortcuts, where you continue choosing honesty, even when easier paths surround you. You've chosen to stay gentle in a world that keeps encouraging people to harden. You've chosen depth in a culture that rewards noise. And that kind of life does not go unnoticed. Not by God, not by the quiet order of the universe that governs cause and consequence. Nothing lived with sincerity disappears into nothingness. There is a reason the road has felt narrow lately. There is a reason distractions have slowly fallen away from your life. There is a reason certain doors never opened, even though you knocked on them with everything you had. Sometimes the silence you interpret as abandonment is actually protection. Sometimes what feels like rejection is restraint. A quiet hand placed gently in front of you at the exact moment you were about to walk into something too small for the person you are becoming. And I need you to hear this slowly. The moment you began feeling like giving up was the moment preparation quietly intensified. That's often how transformation works. Not when everything feels easy, not when confidence is loud and visible, but when faith becomes quiet, stubborn, and almost exhausted. That is when deeper movements begin. You've been asking yourself a painful question. Why isn't this working? But maybe the more important question is this. What is being built right now that requires this much patience? Because what is forming in your life at this moment isn't fragile. It isn't temporary. It isn't something that will collapse the moment circumstances change again. What is forming now is solid. It is shaped by endurance. It is anchored by character, and it is arriving at the right time. There are blessings that arrive early and vanish just as quickly. And then there are blessings that arrive late. They come after patience has stretched you, after perseverance has refined you, after you've learned how to hold what you once might have dropped. Those are the blessings that remain. Those are the ones that stay. You've lived through seasons where nothing seemed to respond to your effort. Seasons where your prayers felt unfinished, suspended somewhere between heaven and silence. Seasons where progress moved so slowly that it started to feel personal. But even in those quiet stretches, something essential was happening. You were being shaped into someone who would not misuse the gift once it arrived. Someone who would remember where it came from. Someone who would not collapse under the weight of answered prayers. That is why it has taken this long. Even if you cannot see the alignment yet, it has already begun. There are conversations you haven't had yet, opportunities you haven't imagined, moments of relief you haven't allowed yourself to hope for. But they are not random. They are quietly converging, and they often appear at the moment when you stop bracing for disappointment and finally allow yourself to breathe again. When you loosen your grip on control just enough to whisper, "Even if I don't fully understand this, I'm still here." That simple sentence has carried you farther than you know, because there comes a moment, often invisible, when the effort shifts. It's subtle, almost impossible to detect while it's happening. One day you're pushing, striving, forcing things forward with everything you have, and then quietly, almost imperceptibly, the direction of the energy changes. The movement stops being about trying and begins becoming about receiving. But here's the part most people never talk about. Many people miss that moment entirely, not because they weren't worthy of what was coming, not because they didn't deserve the breakthrough, but because they stopped, just a little too close to it. They stepped away right before the tide turned, right before the door that looked locked began to move. And if you're listening to this right now, I want you to consider something carefully. What if you're closer than you think? What if the exhaustion you're feeling isn't a sign that things are failing, but a signal that something is finishing? Because you didn't quit, even on the days when you felt hollow inside, even on the mornings when getting out of bed felt heavier than usual, even when your faith stopped sounding confident and became quiet instead. You stayed, even when the only thing you could offer life was consistency rather than certainty. And that matters more than you realize, because every one of those days counted. Every small decision to keep going added something to the foundation you've been building. Nothing about the life you've been living has been wasted. Not one moment of patience, not one quiet act of integrity, not one silent prayer, not even the tears you shed when no one else was around. Those tears softened parts of you that needed to be softened for what is next. And those delays you resented at the time, they redirected you away from things that might have looked promising, but would have cost you far more later. Sometimes the delays we fight the hardest are actually the protections we understand the least. And here's something else you may not have realized yet. What is coming will not require you to chase it. You won't have to exhaust yourself trying to prove that you deserve it. It will recognize you. Because recognition happens naturally when someone has been living in alignment for a long time. You chose truth, even when compromise would have been easier. You chose honesty over convenience. You chose depth in a world that rewards noise. You chose long-term peace over short-term relief. And choices like that don't disappear into nothing. They accumulate, quietly, day after day, decision after decision, until they begin to create a kind of invisible gravity. And that gravity begins to call things toward you. The right conversations, the right opportunities, the right moments. This is why the exhaustion has started to feel different lately. Notice that carefully, because it's not the same kind of tired you felt before. It doesn't feel like hopelessness anymore. It feels closer to completion, almost like something deep inside your life is finishing its work, like a chapter that has taken longer than expected, but is finally approaching its final page. Pay attention to that feeling, because change rarely announces itself loudly. The universe doesn't usually introduce new seasons with fireworks and applause. Most arrivals are quiet. They show up in subtler ways, through stillness, through an unexpected calm that appears after months or years of tension, through a strange sense of steadiness that begins to replace the constant worry. And sometimes it arrives as a single quiet thought that rises gently inside you. I don't know how, but I think I'm going to be okay. If you felt that thought recently, pause for a moment, because that thought is not resignation. It's not you giving up. It's something else entirely. It's readiness. It's the moment when your spirit stops fighting reality and becomes open to receiving what is meant to arrive. And when that shift happens, something remarkable begins to unfold. Clarity starts appearing where confusion once lived. Relief begins to replace pressure. Provision shows up without panic. Answers begin arriving after long periods of silence. Not all at once, not dramatically, but unmistakably, piece by piece, moment by moment, until one day you look back and realize something important. This season you thought was breaking you was actually building you, preparing you, strengthening parts of you that you didn't even know needed strengthening, teaching you how to stand without leaning entirely on outcomes, teaching you how to stay steady even when circumstances fluctuate, teaching you how to trust the process of life itself. So right now, in this moment, be gentle with yourself. You've carried more than most people realize. Stay open, stay patient, stay willing. You don't need to rush the timing. You don't need to prove your worth to anyone. You don't need to perform faith in a way that looks impressive to others. The quiet faith you've already shown is enough. Simply remain present. Simply stay. Sometimes the most powerful thing a person can do is refuse to abandon the path, even when it's difficult to see where it leads. And if you're still here, still listening, still holding on, that says something about you. Because what is meant for you is already in motion, even if you can't see it yet. And before this message ends, I want to anchor this moment, not just within you, but within everyone who understands this kind of journey. So take a second and ask yourself honestly, have you been holding on longer than anyone around you realizes? Have you been showing up every day, even when it felt like no one noticed? If that's true for you, I want you to do something simple. Write this in the comments, exactly as it feels true to you. I stayed faithful, and I am ready to receive. Not as a demand, not as a plea, but as a quiet recognition of the strength it took to reach this moment. And if there's someone in your life right now who has been enduring quietly, someone who keeps smiling through exhaustion, someone who continues believing, even without visible evidence, share this message with them. Because sometimes encouragement is the final piece that allows something long awaited to arrive. Sometimes one reminder is all it takes for someone to keep going one more day. And that one more day can change everything. Remember this, you didn't just survive this season. You were being prepared. Prepared for the next chapter of your life. Prepared for the things you once prayed for. Prepared for the opportunities that are now beginning to move toward you. So stay ready, stay steady, because what is moving toward you now is closer than it appears.